My life used to fit neatly into a box. Everything had its place, its time, its reason. I followed the script, believing that order and routine would bring me happiness. Every morning, the same alarm clock, the same clothes, the same commute. A predictable crawl toward another identical day. The world outside changed with the seasons, but my routine never wavered. I had a good job, the kind people envy. Steady pay, benefits, security. Friends and family congratulated me, and I wore my success like a badge, even if it felt heavy. On paper, I had everything I was supposed to want. My resume looked impressive, my checklist of life goals was nearly complete. But the view from my comfortable spot never changed. The city outside was alive, but I watched it from behind glass, always at a distance. My days blurred together in a cubicle under fluorescent lights, conversations circling around deadlines and weekend recovery. The weeks melted into months, and the months into years. I ate lunch at my desk, always trying to get ahead. But ahead of what? The finish line kept moving, and I never felt any closer to it. The success I chased felt hollow, a prize someone else told me to want. Achievements lost their shine almost as soon as I reached them. Evenings were brief escapes, filled with exhaustion and longing for faraway places I only saw on screens. I dreamed of adventure, but settled for comfort. I kept telling myself, one day, but that day never came. The promise of change was always just out of reach, a distant hope. The truth was, I wasn't happy. I was just existing. I moved through life on autopilot, numb to the passing days. The bars of my golden cage became clearer. The paycheck, the insurance, the retirement plan, all designed to keep me in place. Security became a trap, not a comfort. They made leaving seem foolish, but staying felt riskier. I was caught between fear of the unknown and fear of never truly living. The real danger was waking up in 20 years, unchanged, with a heart full of regret. I pictured myself looking back, wondering where all the time had gone. I was trading my life for security, and it was draining the color from my world. The vibrant dreams I once had faded into the background. Deep down, I knew something had to change. The urge to break free grew stronger, pushing against the walls I'd built around myself. The whisper of discontent grew louder every day. It echoed in the quiet moments, refusing to be ignored. I started to wonder, what if I broke free? What if I chose a different path, one that was uncertain but truly my own? The turning point came quietly, almost unnoticed at first, like a gentle breeze that slowly builds into a storm. It wasn't a dramatic event or a sudden revelation, but rather a subtle shift deep inside me. It happened during a 2-week solo trip to Costa Rica, a journey I'd booked on a whim, hoping for a break from the monotony of daily life. I stayed in a family-run guest house, ate at local sodas where the food was simple but full of flavor, and found myself welcomed by strangers who quickly became friends. I hiked rainforests that felt alive, every leaf glistening with dew, every bird call echoing with possibility. The air was thick with life, and I felt a sense of wonder I hadn't known in years. For the first time in years, I was truly awake, feeling, seeing, living. My senses were heightened, and I felt present in a way I'd forgotten was possible. I met travelers who weren't on vacation. They were on journeys, living lives of motion and discovery. Their stories were filled with risk, laughter, and the kind of freedom I'd only dreamed about. They weren't superheroes, just people who'd chosen adventure over routine, who'd decided to write their own stories instead of following someone else's script. One evening, as the sun set and the air cooled, a fellow traveler asked about my life back home. I described my office job, my routine, the endless cycle of emails and meetings that left me feeling empty. He listened, then said, you don't have to live like that. His words were gentle, but they struck a chord deep within me. It was so simple, but it hit me hard. I realized I'd been living on autopilot, never questioning if there was another way. My life was my choice. I could choose to stay, or I could choose to change. On the flight home, the idea of returning to my cubicle felt impossible. The thought of slipping back into my old routine filled me with dread. The world had shown me its vastness and beauty. How could I go back to my box? I'd glimpsed a life that was bigger, richer, and more meaningful. The seed was planted. What if I saved up, quit my job, and saw the world? What if I dared to dream a little bigger? The idea was terrifying, but for the first time in a long time, I felt alive. The fear was real, but so was the excitement. I realized the only thing holding me back was fear. And maybe, just maybe, that fear was a sign I was on the edge of something extraordinary. Maybe it was time to choose differently, to step into the unknown and see what was waiting for me on the other side. Deciding to leave was one thing, acting on it was another. Fear roared. What if I ran out of money or something went wrong? Friends and family questioned my sanity, feeding my own doubts. The unknown was terrifying, but predictability had become a prison. I was afraid of being lost, lonely, or making a mistake I'd regret forever. For weeks, I cycled between excitement and panic. The breakthrough came when I stopped trying to answer every question. I broke the dream into steps. First, save money. Every dollar saved was a small victory, a piece of my freedom. I reframed my fears. If I ran out of money, I could come home. If I got lonely, I'd meet new people. The scariest thought became, what if I never try? Regret was more frightening than uncertainty. That realization gave me the push I needed. I chose courage over comfort. I was ready to build a new path. Once I decided, my life became a mission. Save money, shed possessions, and prepare for the unknown. I cut expenses, cooked at home, and sold everything that wouldn't fit in a backpack. Each item sold made me feel lighter, freer. My travel fund grew, a visual reminder of my commitment. Preparing for long-term travel was like a second job, researching visas, vaccinations, and routes. I mapped out a rough itinerary, learned to pack light, and read everything I could. The day I handed in my resignation, my heart pounded, but my voice was steady. My boss was surprised, but supportive. Walking out, I felt a profound sense of release. My last days at work felt surreal, like watching a movie of my old life. Then it was over. I was unemployed, homeless, and free, with nothing but a backpack and a one-way ticket. The safety net was gone, replaced by a sky full of possibility. I had finally cut the cord. The adventure was real. There was no turning back. I was ready to begin. My first stop was Thailand, a place I'd only seen in photos and travel documentaries. The anticipation in my chest was electric as the plane touched down. Stepping out of the airport in Bangkok, I was hit by a wall of heat, noise, and unfamiliar smells. The city pulsed with life. Tuk-tuks weaving through traffic, vendors calling out, neon lights flickering in the humid air. Panic threatened, but I pressed on, alone, halfway across the world, with only a hostel address scribbled on a crumpled piece of paper. Every step felt surreal, like I was walking through a dream I'd conjured for years. The city was chaos, but my tiny dorm room felt like a sanctuary. It was simple, but it was mine for the night, a safe haven to catch my breath and gather my thoughts. That first night, I just listened to the city and let it all sink in. The distant hum of traffic, laughter from the street below, and the unfamiliar melody of a new place became my lullaby. I was here. I had made it. The realization washed over me. I was truly on my own adventure, far from everything I'd ever known. The next morning, I wandered with no plan, through alleyways, past street vendors, into quiet temples. Every corner held something new, and every moment felt like a discovery. For the first time, my day was a blank canvas. I could fill it however I wanted, with no expectations or obligations. I ate when I was hungry, rested when I was tired, and let curiosity guide me. The freedom was intoxicating, and I felt more alive than ever before. Travel wasn't about checklists. It was about embracing the unknown, letting each moment surprise me, and learning to trust myself in unfamiliar places. I learned it was okay to be lost. Sometimes, that's how you find the best things. Getting lost became part of the adventure, leading me to hidden gems I never would have found otherwise. A smile was a universal language, and kindness was everywhere. Strangers became friends, and every interaction made the world feel a little smaller. The fear began to melt away, replaced by wonder. Each day brought new confidence, and I started to see the world, and myself, differently. I was no longer just a tourist, I was a traveler. I was learning, growing, and becoming part of the places I visited. The world was my home, and I was finally ready to explore it with open eyes and an open heart. After Bangkok's chaos, I found peace on a small Thai island. My bamboo bungalow was simple, just a bed, a hammock, and the sound of the sea. Days passed in a gentle rhythm, sunrise swims, reading in the hammock, choosing between pad thai or curry for lunch. The local family who owned the bungalows had little, but they radiated happiness. Their joy came from simple things, shared meals, laughter, sunsets. Work and life were intertwined, not separate. One day the owner asked, "Why you need more? This is enough. This is happy." His words struck me deeply. I realized happiness wasn't a future achievement. It was available now, in simplicity and connection. The Thais call it sabay sabay, relaxed, content, at peace. On that island, I finally understood. I let go of the need to always do more. I learned to just be. From island calm to the chaos of Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. The streets were a river of motorbikes. Crossing was an act of faith. At first I hesitated, but watching locals I learned, you just have to trust and go. It became a metaphor for my journey. Sometimes you have to step into chaos and trust yourself. The city challenged me, but each small victory built my confidence. I got lost in alleyways, ate pho on plastic stools, and learned to haggle with a smile. Every day pushed me out of my comfort zone. I became resourceful, finding deals, fixing things, communicating without words. On the road, I built real-life skills and self-reliance I never had before. I was no longer a timid tourist, but an active participant. The city taught me courage and adaptability. I learned to thrive in the unfamiliar. I was becoming someone new. Looking back, I barely recognized the person I was before. I lived in fear of failure, the unknown, and others' opinions. Travel broke down my walls and forced me to confront my fears. The world was kinder and more generous than I'd imagined. I became more confident, open-minded, and adaptable. I learned to embrace uncertainty and let go of control. Possessions lost their grip. Experiences and relationships became my true wealth. Sunsets, shared meals, and new friendships enriched my life. Travel changed my view of work. It could be meaningful, not just a grind. The skills I gained became the foundation for a new, passion-driven career. I learned to design a life I love, not just tolerate. Travel gave me courage and clarity. It turned me into the person I always wanted to be. If you feel stuck or restless, you're not alone. That longing is a call to adventure, a sign you're meant for more. The world is vast and beautiful. Don't settle for just one page. You don't need all the answers to start, just the courage to ask, what if? The fears are real, but regret is worse. Your adventure doesn't have to be drastic. It can start small. A weekend trip, a new hobby, a break in routine. The first step is the hardest, but it's also the most important. Following your dreams will challenge and change you in ways you can't imagine. You'll discover strength, resilience, and joy you never knew you had. You'll collect memories more valuable than any possession. This is your life. Don't wait for one day. Make today your day one. My journey continues, and the world is still calling. If my story inspires you, start writing your own. Your adventure is waiting. Turn the page and begin.